What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Authentic Journey. I'm really excited to introduce today's guest to you, Paz Josefzon. What I love about Paz is he's a good friend of mine, and we always have a great conversation about self-development, self-discovery, and just really how we can remain grounded through all these different phases of our lives. Paz, it's so great to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Anything been on your mind lately, Paz?
Yeah. Funny you ask. This week I deep dove and decided just to audible a book. It's called it's something like Children of Emotionally Unavailable Parents. And I decided to deep dive into it because last Friday, I had one of my employees kind of blow up on me, and she goes, "You have major control issues. I can't work like this anymore." And it was a shock to me and completely threw me for a spin because I realized in my company I had a higher turnover rate. I fired a lot of people, and I would get the same complaints over and over, and I would think everyone's at fault, and obviously it's not me. It's everyone's crazy, right? And I don't know why from this specific employee, she just nailed it so well that she shook me to my core. And the whole weekend I was like, fuck, I am one of my parents. I am treating my employees like how I was treated. And I was like, this is not good. Like I was full anxiety, contemplating life. I was like I need, like something needs to change. Like this is horrific. And you know how the universe works. I go to universe works. I mean, the universe works. I'm driving to Temple one day, and I'm gonna go into the service, and I'm sitting outside. It's like 7 a.m. Usually, I'm pretty pumped. I want to get connected, and I want to go on by my day. And I'm just like so like sad. I'm like just sad. So I go on ChatGPT. I was like, what blah 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 blah. Recommends a book. I go to service. I leave. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna work today. The whole day I drove to the beach, the canyons, freeway, anywhere, and just listened. And as I'm listening to this book, I feel validated. I felt heard, but I felt incredibly afraid and scared. And what I realized was I was feeling a lot of these repressed feelings that I never got to express as a child. And I think being validated allowed me for these emotions to arise. And, growing up when I was a young kid, I had anxiety attacks and I had a binging issue. And I was like 80 pounds heavier than what I am now. And I always thought, like, why is it anxiety? You get medication and then you think it's this and you think it's that. And you always look at surface level, like, why am I binging? It's because I'm no discipline. And it's like, no. A lot of these root issues from my personal experience is your inner child wanting to be heard. And it comes out through an anxiety attack, through a depressive disorder, through anger, through fear, through addiction. That's a lot of that stuff is repressed emotion. So yeah, I mean that's what I've been going through this week, and I've been learning a lot.
It's awesome. So you kind of get to revisit. I wouldn't say revisit. That's not the right word. You get to kind of sit there and honor your inner child and who he was and he who still lives kind of within you today, and kind of like help guide him forward.
I wouldn't say honor from my experience. Not that I don't honor him. It's that I finally understand and validate him. In my experience, I felt like I was crazy, right? Like, I noticed that I would chase external validation to make sure that I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm this, I'm that, to kind of see how I'm behaving. People like me, I'm good. People don't like me, I'm bad, right? And I kind of realized, like, throughout all this, I mean, I've been on this like personal self-development journey for years now, but especially the the past few days or the past week, I realize a lot of like healing or integrating, whatever it may be, just having an understanding of why you are the way you are, why you see the world the way that it is, and why some parts of it, the negative parts of it, are wrong. And I think just having that understanding is the cure or remedy to heal.
So it's almost like you're kind of giving yourself new ideas or like new thoughts about a reality that's already existed.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's being seen, and I think it's the way that I interpret or see it. It's that that reality that had already existed. I didn't see the truth. I just saw the mask, right? So I would only see the negative parts and not the positive, which was wrong and caused a lot of pain and suffering for sure.
That's great. Now you're kind of like, hey, like you get to be kinder to yourself.
I'm still working on being kinder to myself. I'm still learning how to do that and what that looks like. And I find in my personal experience, what really helps me because I tend to model others. So I like to read a lot of books and I try to be around people who are kind to themselves or YouTube videos where people are kind to themselves and learn like what is that? What is being kind? Because up until this point, literally this point this week, I thought being kind to myself was giving myself tough love, hard truth, and pointing out all my flaws and working on those flaws. But that's the opposite of what being kind to yourself is. And although that worked to take me from point A to point B to point C requires a different skill set. And that's compassion. And that's focusing on what I want, not what I don't want.
I love that.
And what I was saying before is that I pause and I hesitate at times because when I'm in, like a serious conversation or in deep thought, even with, friends, family, employees, I pause a lot to make sure that I'm um, expressing my thoughts and emotions clearly, right? Because I don't want to just talk and just talk to talk and just react. Sometimes, I feel that I need to stop and make sure that I'm being authentic in my response and I'm not just trying to respond in a way that's either going to, quote unquote, help my ego or just knee jerk reaction, right? So that's what I meant. But it's funny you say the authentic thing because, um, I kind of hesitate to bring this up because I don't want it to feel forced. Not that it's forced, but um, I'll bring it up and we see where it goes, right? Because I think obviously like we met at the Kabbalah Center, right? And there's like the spiritual route, and I find that like speaking on like a personal journey, right? Um, Spirituality obviously plays a huge role. But I think at the same time, what also plays a really big role is not only spirituality, it's also like logic, right? And emotions and what are we really experiencing? Not just like conceptual things, which, obviously like there is truth behind spirituality, but things you can actually like materialize and see. And I don't know if you can relate to this at all, but I just listened to a book. It's called The Child. I may butcher it a little bit, but it's called "The Children of Emotionally Immature Parents." Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so I've been reading it, or sorry, listening to it, and something that came up for me through reading this too. It's that I feel inclined to share this because am I the only one that like feels that everyone's out to get you, like unsafe in the world?
I think in a way, people come off as I don't want to use the word out to get you, but it's almost like other people know what your triggers are and they specifically press the trigger button. So it's like, hey, I see Ben today. I know that this triggers Ben. Press the button type of thing. And I'm sitting there going like, how did this person, like, it's almost like that person knew that that would trigger me. But it's like, they're all just lessons I need to learn. So it's like, and you were experiencing the same thing. Everybody else out there is like experiencing people around them that it's like, hey, this person's just out here to trigger me. This person's out here to get me. This person's out here to do this. But it's all just designed for your own growth. It's like, kind of like, hey, snap, escape the matrix. Like, there's no, like, it's all an illusion. Like, it's all an illusion that's designed to get you onto your path and your highest timeline.
You feel like you get that a lot where people are like constantly triggering you? Is that like a daily thing in your experience?
Like, I'll come across things, and I think what I've been trying to do lately is try to be as conscious as possible as to what's going on and say, okay, there is a reason why this particular thing just happened. What am I to learn? Like, what do I need to learn from this? Like, what am I meant to learn from this? Like, why does this keep coming up?
You know, it's interesting you say that because I find in my experience there's that surface level trigger, right? So let's say it's like you get you get triggered from these like same things, like what is it? And then you realize there's like a deeper root to it. So for instance, right, it's like, and this like I'll get to my point, but it's kind of like, one day you have chocolate ice cream, like I'm triggered, and one day you have vanilla ice cream, like I'm triggered, and one day you have pistachio, like I'm triggered. Like why does ice cream trigger me? It's like, can I cuss on this?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, and it's like, motherfucker, you can't even have ice cream. That's why you're being triggered. Like, don't eat ice cream. And I realized it because like the whole trigger thing and the whole thing, like everything comes in to teach you a lesson, to tell you something, and it's like, for so long, I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, whoa. I feel unsafe in the world. I feel vulnerable. I feel scared. I feel worried. And it manifests emotionally. It manifests physically. It manifests spiritually. It manifests in lawsuits. It manifests in poor relationships. It manifests in sabotaging relationships. And it's like, it just hit me this week. I was like, whoa, I feel incredibly unsafe in this world. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, oh, the way I was raised. And here's the thing. I realized that it's not, and I really hesitate to say this because I love my parents so much and they're my best friends and I'm always going to respect them, and no discredit to them. They've raised me the best way that they could. And like, I want to defend them all day long. But then I realized at the same point, it's like you can hold two truths at once. You can desperately love your parents and the way that you were raised and the way that you grew up. But you can also love and defend yourself. It's not either or. And I find myself internally constantly being like, wait, like this didn't feel right. But no, blah, blah, blah. But then I abandon myself. Right? So yeah, I mean, that's been like a major theme for me this week. And I feel like sharing that, authentically, because I think sometimes when we look at things that trigger us, there's like a root that they were like dancing around. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, I mean, this is like a Tony Robbins thing. A lot of people talk about this, right? It's humans prefer familiarity because that's what's safe. But it's like, that familiarity can be toxic as hell and make you uncomfortable. And I think a big success, or not a big success, I think the best way to live your authentic self is to get really uncomfortable.
It's interesting. And I mean, you talk about your parents and loving your parents and honoring your parents and who they were.
And who they are.
And who they are. Who they were when you raised you, who they are today, and just who they are as people. It's interesting to think about because, I mean, I believe that we have soul contracts. I believe that we chose our parents to be able to get ourselves on the highest timeline that we could get ourselves on. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And on the flip side, it's also not always sunshine and rainbows for them, like raising you as a kid. Like, I mean, I remember like going back to my childhood, I don't like, I didn't have an easy time with my parents, but I was their oldest son. And I also can imagine that there were times where it was challenging for them to raise me. They're like, what the hell am I going to do with Ben? And I was going through school. I was struggling with school. It wasn't for me. I didn't fit in the school system. And we have teachers, counselors, principals coming from the school and going to my parents like, hey, we're having issues with Ben. Ben is disruptive in our classes. He does not get along with the other kids. And all of that was, I mean, evident. Like for me, for them, like I didn't have friends growing up going to school. I didn't like the other kids. I didn't fit in with the other kids. I didn't feel like I was like them. Like I would go into kindergarten and I remember every morning in kindergarten, I would bring a newspaper to school. And I was a basketball fan. I liked NBA basketball. And I would read the standings and the scores of the previous night of NBA basketball. This was before cell phones and ESPN apps where you could just score. Okay, this team
There
won.
wasn't that in the 90s. There wasn't cell phone.
I know, right? Well, for me, school was the early 2000s. Kindergarten was the early 2000s.
How old are you?
I'm 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I would bring the newspaper to school in kindergarten. I did not know how to read yet because I hadn't learned how to read. I learned how to read, I believe, in first grade. But I was able to memorize the 3-digit codes of like the cities of each basketball team. So I knew the Warriors were GSW, the Lakers were LAL, the Clippers were LAC, the Dallas Mavericks were DAL. It was the 3-letter city codes that I could memorize. So I could identify the standings based off of the numbers. W is the win column, L is the loss column. And I also got to like kind of understand the patterns. It's like, okay, Bryant and the number of points is Kobe. Iverson and the number of points is Allen Iverson. How many points did Kobe have? How many points did Allen Iverson have? O'Neal is Shaq. How many points did Shaquille O'Neal have? And like I could just go and like read the box scores and read the standings. And I'm in kindergarten and I'm interested in that. And the other kids, like, they want to play pretend shit with toys. Like, oh, okay, like my Barbie's riding an airplane or whatever it is. It's like, okay, that's like your imagination. Like, I'm not here to pretend. Like, it just wasn't for me when I was growing up. And I didn't fit in at all. And looking back at it, I sit there and I think it's like, is that the goal? Like, are we meant to fit in? Or are we meant to just be ourselves? And it's interesting to think about because what do your parents think about that? And I think that a part of them is like, hey, we want Ben to have friends. We want Ben to fit in because those are the societal norms. And that is what, like, and they now think about it as parents, they may want to fit in with the other parents who have kids that are their age. Like you sit there and you think about like a community, right? You move into a community, you live in a community, there are other people there, other families there, they have kids, right? Like the parents are part of the community. Like, hey, our kids go to school together. Yeah. And I remember my parents weren't really a part of the community. Like they weren't really close with any of the other parents, like family friends. And I remember really just struggling to like connect with people. And as I progressed through school, up until like whatever inflection point I had to where I ended up getting kicked out of middle school and struggling in high school and going through all these things, like it could not, like, I can now look at things and understand that it likely wasn't easy for my parents raising me as a child. And I can honor that. And I can also honor myself and know that, like, for me, it wasn't easy being raised by my parents in the way that I was raised. But I can take a look at things and see it's like, hey, they did the best they could within what they knew and the capacity that they had as parents.
That's really good. That's really interesting because, I would spend so much time thinking of like, I guess playing victim. I spent a lot of my life playing victim. And even now, I think I play victim. And I think you just called it out because you go, well, how was it like for them raising me? And it's not about like shifting blame or being like, I was a bad kid or I was this or I was that. But I think it's really important to look at other people's perspective and seeing how did you affect them. Even if they're your parents, they're still people, right? Like, I think oftentimes, I'll speak for myself. I think oftentimes I expect my parents to be perfect and amazing and everything I wanted them to be and so on and so forth. And I huff and I puff and I go, well, if they were like this and I would have been like this. And well, if they did this and I would feel safe. And it's like, at what point do you take responsibility and accountability for your life in a way that honors your parents and it honors yourself and it honors your growth process? And like, to your point, it's like you chose your parents, right? If you want to go down the spiritual path, you chose your parents. If you don't believe in that, it's still your responsibility to overcome it. And I think the beautiful thing is, I mean, I'll reference Tony Robbins again because he has a few powerful quotes that really stuck out to me. He's like, if I had the mother that I wanted, I wouldn't have become the man that I'm proud of. Right? And I think oftentimes it's the journey of becoming the person that we wish we would have had growing up or the person that we're proud of is the most satisfying thing,
The journey of becoming the person we wish we had growing up.
Yeah.
That's fucking powerful.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's been my whole thing, right? Like these past few years. I mean, I think we've talked about it, like the breakup I had and, all these different things. And what it really allowed to happen was for a light to be shined upon me in a way where it's like you are no longer in this codependent relationship. You're on your own. You have to like become the man that, we just said. And it's like, it's in the beginning, it's such a painful process or a woman, right? In the beginning, it's such a painful process. But I think after some time, when you start making some traction, it's like the most fulfilling and addicting thing. And I think you get to a point where you not only love it for yourself, but you want to do it for others.
So who was the person that you needed growing up? And what did that cause you to do over the years to try to become that person?
That's a really good question. Do you mind repeating it?
So who was the person that you needed growing up, that you wish you had growing up? And what like actions did that cause you to take over the years to try to become that person?
That's a really powerful question. I'm gonna sit on it for a second because that's like you just open Pandora's box, right? That was a really good question. I want to take a little more because that's like I think that's the question I've been trying to find, or the answer I'm trying to find to that question, right? And I want to tell you what I wanted. You stumped me. You stumped me because I think I'm still figuring that out. And like, if I look at the person that I wish I would have had and I'm trying to become.
So let's break it apart. So who is the person? Let's go back to a point in your life where you were struggling. Like you're a child. You could be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. There's someone you wish you had by your side Like either this person's going to save me, this person's going to protect me, this person's going to walk with me hand in hand. And I know that when this person is walking side by side with me, I'm good. I'm okay. Who is that person that you wish was walking with you? And how old were you?
You know, I never thought I would speak about this publicly, right? But I'm doing this because I'm genuinely hoping that it helps someone. Right, to the point of like, I think it's very selfish, for lack of better words, to hide the path that you're on because you could really help someone else. And I think, you know, that's like why we're here. Like, we go through hard shit to help other people go through hard shit. But the person, like, if you want to talk about the physical person I wish I had, it was my mom. Right? She was, oh God. I don't want to villainize her. I'll say this. And I know I'm probably being overly defensive over her, but I can't help it. She had a really hard childhood. Like, you could probably write a book about how horrible and horrific it was. So in comparison to her childhood, she did outstanding, A+. Truly. A lot of the man that I am today is because of my parents, and I'm really proud of the man that I am. That being said, right, holding two things at once, it wasn't what I needed. And she was very good at physical needs, right? Like, I was always clean. I was always well-groomed. I had the best food. I was never hungry. I was never lonely. I had friends. Like, from the outside, it was perfect. The inside, I was so hollow. And I only think now I'm realizing it, right? And for lack of better words, I grew up, and I think a lot of foreigners go through this. I don't think I'm single in my experience at all. It's that I think a lot of foreign people have very emotionally unavailable parents. Sorry, emotionally immature parents. And that can or may leave a hole, and you're trying to fill that void. And you go, I don't get it. You make money. You're like, I feel empty. You dress a certain way. I feel empty. You get attention. I feel empty. What is it? What the fuck am I missing? And for what I am realizing as it's unfolding in real time now that I'm going through this is true self-love, self-compassion. And I'm still figuring out what that looks like. You know, like, I'm constantly the worst critic. Like, in my head, I am so mean to myself. And, you know, in my past relationship, I was in a 13-year relationship, right? And from the outside, it's like, you know, I gave her the world, right? Like, I was there and I bought and I blah, blah, blah. And then after 13 years, she had left. And this is probably going on a tangent, and I hope I'm doing a good job here. But she had left, and a week later, I was dating one of my best friends. And I'll say this, because for so long, when people would hear that, oh, she's this and she's that, and I would always defend her. Like, why are you defending her? Because I'm like, if I was with me, I would have fucked all my friends at the same time. I would have gone gangbang because I was such a piece of shit. Why? Because physically, yeah, I showed up and I did all these things, and, you know, emotionally, I tried. But at the end of the day, like, I destroyed her emotionally. Why? Because I destroyed myself emotionally. That's how I thought love was. I thought love was pointing out your flaws. I thought love was making you be better by stressing you out. I'm still learning what gentle love is. So the person I am becoming is becoming a successful person in all means, physically, relationally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, through soft love, not this tough love, because that harsh criticism can get you from point A to point B. But if you want to go from B to the end, that's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Well, it's almost not even B to the end. It's like this point, it's like, okay, there's phase one of your life, which is A to B.
Yeah.
And there's the next phase of your life, which is, call it B to C. And then there's going to be a point in your life where you go from C to D. And like, there's just all these different chapters and different segments in your life. And it's interesting. I mean, you talk about being successful or being strong or learning how to love a certain way. And it's almost like you were trying to give your child self the thing that your child self needed. It's almost like you were living life for him rather than for you. It's like, let me give him this so he's okay.
You know what? It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. And I know it comes off like that. I think my inner child was buried so deeply, I didn't even know he existed. And we talk about the money, but, you know, maybe this is a more spiritual whatever. But like now, financially, I'm really struggling. Because what took me from point A to point B, that's not the same skill set from point B to point C. And that same skill set caused me to go into lawsuits, caused me to have high turnover rates with my employees, caused all these issues where now I'm like, oh, that's not working. And, you know, going back to that inner child, I think more recently started understanding what that is. Right? I think that term gets thrown out a lot, and you know, you see a lot of like female influencers online that kind of talk about it, like your inner child and you want to heal it. And I think inner child is a good way to like visualize it so you have like a target you're moving towards. I think a better term, I want to think about this for a second, but I think a better way of looking at it is like, I feel like I have like, I don't know how I would call it, because I think people tend to, I'm assuming when I say people, I'll speak on my experience. I think when I think inner child, it's either being overly compassionate to the point of enabling, or overly strict to the point of like harming. I think maybe the right word is balance. Finding that inner balance and that inner peace. Does that make sense?
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So when I think of balance, I think of being able to be really intense and then being really calm. Being able to love and nurture yourself, but also not going so far where you're enabling yourself. For instance, you know, I deserve a sweet treat. Okay, let me stop at one candy, not the whole bag. So I think what people look for, or what I look for, is balance, like the yin and yang, and also peace, but also channeling our energy in the right ways.
It's interesting because we all have this like inner child, and I can speak for myself on this. I feel like my inner child has been trying to be like seen, like understood since I was a child.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm 5 years old. I'm bringing a newspaper to class. I'm not understood. I'm not understood by my peers, my fellow students, my classmates. I'm not understood by my teachers. I'm getting sent to the principal's office because I am considered to be disruptive to the class, to the learning environment. Sometimes I'll ask questions that are completely off topic. Sometimes I'll ask questions that are on topic because I'm curious and I want to learn about life or whatever's going on. And how can I apply these different things to my life? And I'm not understood by my parents. I'm not understood by all these different people. And like, I feel like on my journey, I've almost had to kind of look back and like me right now, 30-year-old Ben, can I reach my hand back and just grab my 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old self's hand? Just, hey, like, I got you, bro. Like, if you fall, I will help you back up. I understand you. And I feel like the person that I always wanted to be understood by, I spent all these years becoming. And the person who understands 8-year-old Ben, 10-year-old Ben, 12-year-old Ben was never going to be a classmate of mine. It was never going to be a teacher of mine. It was never going to be a principal of mine. It was never going to be my parents. The person who ultimately was able to understand 12-year-old Ben was 30-year-old Ben.
Wow. Wow. You know what's amazing about that? As you're saying it, I'm like really, sorry. I'm really thinking about that in the sense of like, again, speaking of my experience, because I don't want to speak for other people. I don't know what other people go through, right? I can only assume. It's that I noticed for me, like I tried to fill my wound by external validation. Right? So it's like, does this person notice me? Am I respected? Am I liked? Am I appreciated? If I go above and beyond, I'll for sure be liked. If I am overly, if I have really solid boundaries, no one can fuck with me. But at the end of the day, I think it's for people like myself who tend to chase external validation, you will never get it until you validate yourself. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. And it's also, I would also add to it, I would also say it's meaningless.
Can you ever get anything external? Like, period. Like, for me, like, I feel like for years, it's like, I'm trying to chase whatever is external, whether it's validation from other people, whether it's respect, maybe it's being liked, maybe it's being understood. Maybe it's materialistic. Maybe if I make some money, then I will feel good about myself. If I get a new car, I'll feel good about myself. Maybe if I am viewed a certain way by people, I'll feel good about myself. And in my experience, all the external stuff really just became like an illusion for what I thought I could get or achieve or want or experience. And really, once I realized that the external stuff is literally all an illusion, I'm like, bye, this is gone. I now need to learn what I can channel from an internal standpoint, because that's all that actually is. The rest is just an illusion.
You know what just clicked for me as you were saying that? I realized why I look for external validation.
Okay.
I believe a big reason of it, and it just hit me right now. It just you hit me with this realization. It's I don't trust myself, so I look for feedback externally to see if I'm doing a good job.
Why don't you trust yourself?
Because growing up, the model that I had, the people that were close to me, that were really sure of themselves internally and were like, I am this way and I'm this way and I'm that way, and never took external feedback, they weren't what they said they were. And I am so frightened of becoming a person that's like that. That goes, yeah, I'm a good person. Of course I'm a great person. I'm an amazing person. I don't listen to external feedback. I know this is a very extreme thing, but I take in the external all the time to make sure that I'm okay, because what I modeled myself after, I think I'm looking and developing what that strong internal state is.
It's interesting because I always viewed things as, can I go out and earn my self worth?
Really?
Can I go out and relate to people or connect with people in a way where if this happens, I will feel worthy? And then I was always clinging to a result. It was all contingent on a result. Is this person my friend? Are they wanting to spend time with me? Is there a business deal that's going to close? If the business deal closes, I am worthy. If the deal doesn't close, I am not worthy. Am I seen, respected, understood, loved, all these different things? And again, contingent on the result. If I am worthy. If I am not worthy.
Damn.
And I feel like what shifted for me at a certain point in time was, I don't need to earn my self-worth. I just need to become it.
Where do you feel like you learned that to earn your self-worth?
I felt like I had to earn my self-worth because I felt like when I was a kid and I was misunderstood and there wasn't anybody for me to turn to, that I had to provide a specific value to somebody for them to see my worthiness. I have to give, or I have to do something, or I have to prove that I am worthy to somebody else. I have to prove my worth. If I gave you grapes at snack time when we were kids, all of a sudden now I had value because you wanted grapes and I had grapes and I gave them to you. So you had to view me as valuable. You had to be my friend in my eyes. If I became successful and all of a sudden, hey, look, here's Ben. Ben has access to different experiences that are cool. Ben can provide this kind of a time for me. Ben can provide this material thing for me. Being around Ben elevates my status. I am now worthy. I have value. Other people see me, but they don't actually see me. They see what they can get by being around me. And then the whole thing, again, is just an illusion. It's not authentic. It's me just building this artificial self-worth and feeling like I can earn it. But at the end of the day, when the mask comes off and the armor comes off, I'm still Ben. I didn't earn that self-worth. My mask and my armor earned that self-worth. And I realized, I'm like, at some point, I gotta take off the mask, take off the armor, throw it off to the side, and become my self-worth rather than trying to earn it from other people or like performances or proving something or material things. And there is nothing that I could do to earn it. I literally just had to sit with myself and internalize it and become it.
That's really powerful because, as you're talking, I'm thinking that as adults, like, we're just giant children playing in a playground. Because what you're saying is, like, I think about when I was a kid and, there's someone, like one of my friends, he had like really good food and I really wanted it. And I would hover to him because it was like his mom made like really cool food, like Asian food. Like, I could see how that gives a higher perception of self-worth. But today, if a guy has money and access to cool things, then like he gets more of that same attention from, other guys and girls and whatnot. But to your point, that doesn't fulfill you and it's the mask. But then how do you know who you truly are?
think you gotta, I mean, again, this is a process for everyone, including myself.
Yeah.
I am still learning each and every day. I discover something new about myself. I mean, looking in the fucking mirror helps. Asking myself questions helps. Trying better to understand not only who I was, but who I am and who I'm going to be helps. Because there's all these different things that make up who we are. And it's almost like your past self, your present self, and your future self, your highest self, is present with you at all times. And it's almost like there's this like everything that goes down, everything you encounter, any interaction, any thought, there's almost like this internal board meeting between your past self,
So
your
funny.
present self, and your future self, like your highest self.
Yeah.
Like the greatest version of Ben that possibly exists in whatever time in the future. And there's a decision being made. And
So funny.
your little self, your past self, is advocating for its needs. I want to be seen. I want to be understood. I want to feel worthy.
Yeah.
I want people to notice me. And my present self is advocating, like, what are my current needs? Like, what do I want right now? Like, what am I trying to earn? What am I trying to see? What am I trying to be? What am I? And then your highest self is like, basically like, yo, like, both of y'all, calm the fuck down. Like, the way you get to become me is by releasing these things, releasing these external things, releasing the armor, releasing the mask, and being on this path that you're meant to be on. And here's what I'm advocating for. And at the end of the day, your highest self usually is right, but usually doesn't win the board meeting. Your past self wins a lot of the board meetings by going, okay, Ben, go and give this guy grapes so you feel important. But now I'm an adult, so it's not about grapes anymore. So now it's like, okay, what am I giving this guy? I'm like, what am I doing to make this person feel like I'm important, right? And there's your present self, and your present self advocating for your current wants and needs. And your present self will win a lot of these board meetings as well. And the question is, how can I work on increasing the percentage of the board meetings that my highest self can have the final say in and the final decision in? And it's like not about what Ben today will do, 30-year-old Ben. It's about this proverbial version of my highest self that exists somewhere in the future. And it's like, who knows? Maybe I'm 40, maybe I'm 50, maybe I'm 60, maybe I'm 183 and I'm fucking dead. And that's the highest version of Ben. But it's like, how does the highest version of Ben, how would my highest self handle this? And that is what I hope comes out of these proverbial board meetings. And that is how I hope that I can approach these different situations as a person.
That was so good. That was so good. And I feel like that's so true. And I feel like what keeps most people stuck is why does the past keep repeating itself? Because your past self hasn't been integrated yet, and the past self is still making the decisions. And I think the goal should be to listen to your future self or your highest self or what's best for your future, whatever angle you look at it, because that knows best. Like now, 30-year-old Ben could tell 6-year-old Ben, don't give him fucking grapes. Go do your what you want to do, right? So I think it's about integrating your past self and tending to those needs while, you know, looking at the future. But all that's only done in the present moment because there is no past and there is no future. There's only the present. The present is such a powerful place. And I think the most successful people get pulled towards the future. right? It's not about resisting the past or resisting. It just, I think this is where like release and surrender comes in. It's like being a current of water. You just let go. You're like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm gonna die at times. Like water's coming and but like I'm breathing. I'm okay. I'm alive. And it's like going towards that future self of you. And the way that I like to think about it is when I get stuck and when I remember, it's, you know, future you on your deathbed at hopefully 120, 150 years old, right? And you're looking back and you're like, what was like the decision that I made that I'm proud of, right? So let's say, for example, you're 30, 31, and it's like, take that risk, approach that girl, right? Take that business opportunity. Like those things are worth more than never doing anything at all. And I think a way to win those board meetings is to make I don't know if I said this earlier, but like make that uncomfortable decision, because usually greatness comes from being uncomfortable and chasing discomfort. And there's a difference between discomfort that is fed from your ego and fed from your soul. And what I've noticed in my experience, the best discomfort is micro discomforts. Not this crazy big discomfort that it just ricochets you back, because that's your ego. You know what? I'm scared of approaching girls. I'm going to approach all the girls, the hottest girls all the time. And eventually you're like, you get exhausted. Like, I can't do that anymore, right? But it's like, start conversation with people. And then, right? So it's like just kind of like going a little bit up and up in that sense. But yeah, I really like how you framed that. That was really good. Thank you. I'm going to use that for sure going forward.
There we go. The Paz board meetings are about to be off the charts in the future.
For sure. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. Like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because it's like, how do you integrate your past, present, and future selves?
Yeah, you know what? So my knee-jerk reaction to answering that question is, it's how would you handle any relationship, right? So it's like there's compromise that has to be done. But I think the best relationships are set with intention and then set around truth. And you just follow that no matter how you feel about it, whether you're comfortable or not, right? Because if you look at what your needs are, in a way, your needs don't really matter, because our reaction as people is to be comfortable. We need to be comfortable. But comfort isn't growth. So, you know, for instance, if I, you know, let's say you own a business, right? And you go, I want to double my revenue this year. What do we need to do? We need to make more phone calls. We need to increase our advertising budget. We have to hire more. Those are uncomfortable things that you have to do. So I think the best way to integrate them is to make those compromises, but on the basis of truth and of the end goal of what you want.
And what do you feel like we can do to choose? I mean, because it seems like we're either choosing comfort or we're choosing growth. And you can have one or the other.
I don't agree. You can have both.
You think you can have both?
For sure. For sure. Here's the thing, because this is where I went wrong, is that I thought that growth was extremely uncomfortable. But, you know, how do the people that are the best at their thing become the best at their thing? I'll give you an example. Like, let's say tennis players, right? To be a great tennis player, like you think you go and like every day I'm going to practice 10 hours, I'm blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, let's break it down. Like, let's break down a whole game of tennis into like little micro segments. The first thing is the serve. So we're going to practice for 1 month throwing the ball in the air. Then we're going to practice our swing. So if you just take your goal and you break it down really small, the ego doesn't like it. The ego goes, no, I want to do everything at once. But that's unrealistic. That's why it's so uncomfortable, right? Like I lost 80 pounds in the past few years. And it started with, okay, I'm going to walk. Then I'm going to cut out one thing and the next and the next and the next and the next. And I see it kind of like the frog in the hot water, where like you put him in hot water, he jumps out, but you put him in cold water and you slowly turn on the heat and he stays there because he's comfortable. So I think it's about taking your goal, breaking it down to really small steps that are very easy to do individually. Some steps may be a little bit harder than others, and give yourself a wider timeline than you think. Don't rush to be a millionaire in a year. Give yourself 10 years. And if you go 10 years, yeah, that's what it takes. You want to sustain it? Yeah. Or you could spend 10 years going up and down and never getting anywhere. So choose.
like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
True, because we do rush things in life, like too many times. Like we put the horse ahead of the carriage.
Yeah. Listen, there's times where you can, like, I think, and it's so situational, not to be like contradictory, but there's times where like my life is complete shit. I need to make a change now. I'm going to move cities. There's times where you have a, maybe God forbid, a health scare, and you're like, you have diabetes and your insulin resistance is horrible. Like, I need to cut out sugar now. I can't titrate this. There's times, right? But I think overall is having a plan and then following the plan and doing it in a way where you enjoy the process. And I think you enjoy the process by reframing the goal, right? Reframing, well, actually pre-framing is such a powerful tool.
What do you feel something in your life that like you've lived through using that?
I mean, now almost everything. I'll give you an example, right? I'll start basic, and I don't know what's gonna land more. Tell me what feels better from your perspective, because you know, let's talk about food, for instance, right? So you can be like, you know, I'm gonna eat healthy and I want to lose weight and I want to have a six pack and then blah blah blah. Okay, but that doesn't really work long term. But if you reframe it and think, I want to feed my body intention with whole foods that are great and I feel great, and you have this identity around like treating your body with respect, it's much easier to follow a healthy lifestyle. You know, that's kind of generic. So I'll tell you, I think a big one for me is having had issues with my maternal figure, right? I was able to look at myself, especially after the breakup. I was like, I have two options right now. This can be the best thing for me to have an amazing relationship with myself and my future wife, or I could become a horrible negative person because of this experience. And I think being able to, in critical moments in life, separate emotion from logic just for a moment, or if you're emotional, don't make any conclusions that are permanent, will help you pre-frame the experience into something that's much better. I think a good way of looking at it is, you know, I heard this thing and it's like, let's say you're going to take a sports car on a test drive and the guy goes, listen, this car is amazing. It's rough and you feel every bump in the road and you're driving and the tires grip the floor and you turn and, you know, it knocks you out of your breath and blah, 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 blah. And he says all these great things and you're driving the car and like, yeah, this is great. The car's great. I'm flooring and I feel that tires grip the floor and it's bumpy. I feel the road. I have good, you know. You're going to be like, this is a great sporty car. But let's say you don't have any idea of that. You drive the car. You're like, why is the suspension so bumpy? And why is it gripping? And why is it feeling like this? And I hate it. And after the guy goes, yeah, so that car was a sports car and it was great, and blah, blah, blah. You can be like, I don't want that car anymore. So I think going forward in people's lives, pre-framing everything with the intention you want will make you follow a better path. Right? And I think, I mean, it definitely applies to the past. So you can definitely reframe the things you've been through. But I think a more powerful thing is when you're in a moment of this can change my life, let me pre-frame it in a really good way, will most likely yield you a very positive experience.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, you know, tying your identity with your decision making is so underrated. Right. So you hear like, yeah, you hear like ex-smokers where they go like, if someone's like, hey, here's a cigarette, instead of being, hey, I don't smoke, like, I'm not a smoker. I am this, I am that, like identity markers, and then doing the action that confirms that that's your identity. I am not a person who tolerates disrespect, even from myself. I am not a person who compromises. I am a person of excellence. I am a person of this, and doing it. And, you know, I'll say this, if someone's listening to this and like you're really struggling and you're like, I know I'm a person of excellence, but I can't get out of bed in the morning, because I've been there. I've had times where I literally have wanted to kill myself. I was in lows. Excellence is being excellent at whatever you're doing. So if that morning you get up and all you can do is make the bed, that's excellence. And everything compounds off of that. I mean, you hear very successful people saying this all the time. They take big shit and make it really small. And you go, that's all it takes to be successful. And like, that's all it takes. It's very simple and it's easy. Just having patience and not allowing your ego to take control. And you'd be surprised in a year, you make a lot more progress doing baby steps than trying to make these big leaps and bounds. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. You take a lot of baby steps, you'll go far more ahead than people who try and take big strides. For sure.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you think of somebody like what made Kobe Bryant great, what made Michael Jordan great. And they mastered the fundamentals, the small stuff. They weren't impressive. They weren't shooting long term, whatever. I mean, sure, yes, they were very impressive in how they played, but it didn't start that way. And they mastered the fundamentals. They mastered the footwork. They mastered the angles around the basket. They controlled the things they could control. They played hard on the defensive end. Like, how many basketball players don't play hard on defense? Like, defense is literally effort. Like, if you're athletic and you are not like an elite defender, like what are you missing? Like, there's nothing. Like, what are you not capable of? Like, I feel like if you're athletic and you're not defending in basketball, it's an effort thing. And you get out of bed, you don't make your bed. Effort. You go and you do a workout, and you're spending an hour working out. And what's the difference between giving 70% and giving 100%? Like, you're already there. You're already working out. It's like, strive to be the best that you can be. Master the small stuff. Work on, again, the small stuff and getting it right. It's like, you want to run a marathon. Like, first you just got to put one foot in front of the other. It's like, there's no one step that's going to get you 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to take one step at a time, over and over again. Yeah. And eventually, after a certain amount of time, you will have run 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
And you will have completed the marathon. But it's almost like we have this idea sometimes that it's like, I am in a hole. I can't take the 26.2 mile step. I'm just not going to take any step because I'm not going to get there. And it's like, no, you will get there. You just have to put one foot in front of the other.
I love that so much. And, I would say this. I would say there's a lot I want to say on this. First of all, so, you mentioned the whole gym thing, go to the gym, 70 versus 100. I would say 90% of success is just showing up. So if you're a person who can't even get to the gym, don't even worry about giving it 100% at the gym. Just go to the gym. Even if you're there for 2 minutes and you leave, that was fantastic. Coming from someone who lost a lot of weight and is still losing weight, I reward myself mentally now for all my small wins. Because just showing up, honestly, like, that's the fundamental. That's the basics. How do you get good at the gym if you don't even show up to the gym? If you don't have the energy to go and give 100%, give 2%. You won. Great job. Seriously, really. And, going back to your point about one step at a time, that goes back to like being present. Not the past, not the future. How will I do 26 miles? How will I do this? One step at a time, and be patient. Because so much when you're in pain, you just want it to be done. You want to sprint. But, then an analogy I can give is that if you're in pain, like, I'm going to get over it, you sprint for a mile. That's a long sprint. and you rest for 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and the guy that's taking one step like beats you by far, that's easier. But the ego, I don't know if the ego is the right word, depending how you look at it, but like sometimes you're so uncomfortable, you want to channel that energy. And I would say just go at your own pace. But the most important thing is set a floor. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. They operate at a way higher baseline, right? So I would say it like this. Like, let's say if you're someone who's trying to get, I don't want to keep going to this. I feel like I'm like called to this. But let's say if you're someone who's like wanting to get out of like a really bad situation in life, there are times where you have extra energy. That day you can sprint. That day you can run 10 miles. But your floor should be 2 miles. Don't let the next 5 days be 0 miles. Have a reasonable floor, 2 miles a day. Days that have more energy, give it 10 miles. And every incremental time that you think is better for your situation, add the extra mile until you get to your marathon.
You know, it's interesting. I think I saw somewhere, and I don't remember the exact quote or saying, but it's like the greatest masters in the world don't rise to their like level of greatness. They fall to the floor of their training. And what makes them great is that their floor is higher than most people's like ups, downs, whatever. Their floor is just so high that if they fall to the level of their training, it's like you can't lose. There's just going to be that level of consistency. And that's why we see it's like Michael Phelps jumps in a pool and he is like going to medal like every time because he has put in the work. And he is like, his training is so strong that like his floor is near or even above the ceiling of most other people that are competing against him.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny because the way that my mind went for a moment was, you know, I talk about Michael Phelps and like you see these Olympians who they win a gold medal, and what happens after they get really depressed. And why? It's because now what? Now what? And for those people, they enjoy the reward more than the journey. And that's a really dangerous thing. And I would say if you're, again, a person who needs, I don't want to keep getting called to this. I feel like someone maybe needs it. But if you're a person who is like really going through it right now, and you're like, I want to get out of it. I want to find my soulmate. I want to make money. I want to be healthy again. I want whatever you're going through, whatever challenge. I know it sounds like fucking crazy, but if you can, in some fucked up way, enjoy that experience, because you'll never get it back. You will get out of the position you're in. Like, if you're in a bad place, you're going to get out of it guaranteed. I promise you, I sign off on it. You will get out of it. Enjoy it because this is where the journey is. That's where the growth happens. You get to a point you become crazy, like not crazy in a bad way, like crazy in a good way, like you enjoy this. And you keep looking for those things in other ways that actually make you grow in life. You wake up earlier. You know, I used to wake up at 10. Now I'm up at 5 in the morning. Because I realized, through these challenges that is given to us, that's where the most of the growth is. And I think a wise person would put themselves in challenges and not allow the universe to do it for you. Because then I think you can really try your best to avoid unnecessary suffering and pain.
Well, it's almost like we just have these just different chapters of our lives. And we just go through these different things. And some chapters are hard for us. Yeah. We find them challenging. We're going through it. It's not fun. Some chapters are filled with joy. We love them. This is great. This is amazing. Some chapters feel tedious and monotonous, and there's not really anything that we're feeling. But the one thing that they have in common is they all close. The book closes at a certain point in time. And that thing that you're going through that is challenging and not easy at a certain point in time will just be another chapter in the book. That thing that you enjoyed, that relationship, that love, that success in business, like that too is a chapter. It will close. And that thing that you're working really hard on, that marathon, I'm not talking about step number 1. And I'm not talking about the step that completes mile 26.2. I'm talking about mile 0.1 to mile 25.1 or 26.1. Those 26 miles in between that you're not having fun with. It's just one step after the other is also a chapter. And it closes. It will be done.
I'll tell you something. At the beginning of a marathon, everyone cheers for you. At the end, everyone cheers for you. That 0.1 to the 26.1, that's all you. And it's so hard because no one's rooting you on. No one's cheering you on. It's you versus you. But I'm telling you, someone who's in the marathon, right? I haven't completed it yet. I'm in there with a lot of people. I'm only now realizing and understanding to love it because no one can take that away from me. No one's cheering me on right now. No one's rooting me on. And going back to what you're saying about the whole what you needed growing up is I think for someone to consistently cheer and root me on and be there for me. And that's what this 26 miles is. And when people go through really challenging, difficult times and really good times, there's a saying, this too shall pass. And I really like that because you use it in both good and bad. And if you're like, why would I use that in a good time? Why would I want this to pass? Because it builds such a strong sense of self. You're so anchored that nothing around you even matters. Good and bad are both irrelevant because you're so fucking stable that nothing can shake you. And that's peace and that's confidence and that's everything you're looking for. All of us are looking for isn't that. Is no matter what happens to me externally, whether my kids are successful or not, whether my spouse is incredible or not, whether I'm a millionaire or not, whether I'm this or that, whatever it is, I'm good. And I think that's what we all kind of work towards. And we put external factors as, okay, I'm good when my kid is this. I'm good when I lose 20 more pounds. I'm good when I find this bubble. I'm good when I'm healthy. I'm good when I'm this. If you can be in this storm and be good, you won. And if you can be in good and you're good in the good, you also won. Because speaking for myself, when things are good, I'm like, I'm just waiting. When is the illusion over, right? So if you can be good, whether you're in life, if you're in the bad place or in the good place, you can be good regardless. You fucking won.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's no good. There's no bad. There just is. And just, yeah, it's like, and what can you, like, where can you just be rock solid, like, regardless of what's going on? Like, there's nothing to really strive for.
It's the mundane middle. It's a 26 miles. It's from 0.1 to 26.1. That's where you learn it. That's where you learn it.
It really defines who you are. Like, it's so interesting. Like, you like put all that together and it's like, and you tie that back to like being that inner child and like going back and like walking beside that inner child. It's like, that's what it is. That's what the childhood is. You're born. Everybody loves you. Your mom's holding you.
So true.
Everybody's excited.
That's so crazy.
It's like, there it is,
so
0.1.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you pass that 0.1. It's like, guess what? Fast forward, you're like fucking 5 years old. It's like, guess what? You gotta fucking face whatever the hell you've got going on. And you build all these traumas and you build all these walls and you like all these things happen in your life. and nobody's coming to save you. You want somebody to come and save you. Nobody's coming to save you. And that point one to that 26.1 will last an infinite amount of time until you decide to cross that fucking finish line.
Yeah.
And the day you decide that your 26-mile gap is over and you reach that hand back to grab your past self.
That's so good.
You reach your hand back to grab your past self and you say, hey, let's walk across this finish line together. It's like, you're good. You're done. The healing that you've wanted to offer yourself is there. You get to walk across the finish line because you can walk your past self across that finish line. Your past self has been waiting that entire life for someone to walk him across the finish line and say, you are no longer. There is no more past self. There's just present self. And he's just sitting there and waiting. And it could take you 10 years. It could take you 20 years. It could take you 30 years. It could take you 40, 50, 60. Some people will die and never reach mile 26.2 and cross that finish line. They get up to 26.1 and spin in circles for the rest of their life because they're not willing to face everything that happened and just walk across that finish line. And sometimes you just have to tell yourself, this chapter is over. This book is closed. I am walking across that finish line. And you, who was there in the past and has been there with me all along, you're coming with me. Our finish line is here. And you walk across it.
You know, you're speaking and my body's covered in goosebumps. And it's so true. And I feel like you just spoke to me in such a level. And I'm so appreciative for you saying that. Because I share my experience because hopefully it really helps. And I feel like that's what I needed to hear. So thank you. Genuinely. Genuinely. I think you just healed something inside of me. Thank you. I feel like I just crossed a marathon, but wow. Honestly, I'm so dude, I love you. Thank you so much. No, that was incredible. But I want to add to that two things. The marathon is tedious, right? But the cool thing about this emotional thing, if you're in pain, the second you decide the marathon's over, it's over. The finish line moves to you. Because once you make that conscious decision, everything unfolds. Everything unfolds and it becomes easy. Not that it's easy and you're not feeling pain. The pain is, it's a good pain. It's a growing pain. It's an amazing pain. It's a purposeful pain. It's not a broken arm pain. It's I went to the gym pain. So the second you decide it's over, it's over. But I'll add one more thing to what you said. You said, it's only you, and you're right. But something I think you miss is that God's always with you. And I'll say to my personal experience, there was a time years ago, I was going through a really, 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 really hard time. And I had concluded, I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm not living. I am done. I am out of here. Hasta la vista. 26-year-old me is done. Not doing this. Fuck that. And I surrendered to that I was going to do it. And I remember I was in so much pain during this phase of my life that every second was torture. I'll never forget it. The next day I woke up and it was this much better. Just enough. And it got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And now it's amazing. Now I love every moment of life. And I say that because in those moments when I felt alone, looking back, I'm like, oh, I wasn't alone. I was never alone. That's an illusion. God was with me. This higher power is with me. And I know if someone listens to this and they're like, what are you talking about? What is God? Why am I suffering? What is this? I was the same way. And I'm not saying to be dogmatic about spirituality or God in a way of like modern day religion has made religious people, in my experience, feel isolated or rules and guilt and shame. It's that anyone listening to this, I highly encourage you to like really look at the human body, how our minds work, how our like bodies literally work. There's a book I strongly suggest it for anyone. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's a book written by a plastic surgeon. He's like, why do some people get surgery, let's say a nose job, and are confident? Some people say the same. And he's like, obviously surgery isn't it. It's an identity thing. He talks about how the brain and body works and so on. I won't get into that. But if you understand that you are perfect, you are unable to be recreated, AI has nothing on you, literally. Doctors don't understand how you work. Scientists don't understand how you work. No one knows how we work. But the more we learn, the more we know how complex and incredible we are. You go, wait a minute. Who made this? Who made this? And you go, the creator that made me incredible. And once you know that and it clicks, nothing can fuck with you. Because this is taken from the book. The same way, and I want everyone to really like this to really land hard, okay? The same way that animals have instincts. A squirrel, right? Born in spring, knows to store nuts for winter. Or a bird. There's no pioneer bird that goes, I'm going to map it out. We're going to fly over the ocean. It's an instinct. Animals have instinct. Surprise. Humans have instincts. They're not just physical of eating and reproducing and all those things. The instincts of human are also spiritual in a sense where we have imagination. You can imagine something. I imagine my life to look like X, and it will happen instinctually. You have to hold on to the last image enough. And man is created in God's image. Man is like God. Our imagination is our most God-like feature. So if you're in a bad place and you're struggling, you can imagine a better life, it's done. Just hold on to that image and everything will uncover. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
That's when God walks you across the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. Boom. That's when future you or your dad or your mom walks you across that finish line.
That's the beautiful thing. Is like, where can you see the finish line? And who are you going to allow to walk you across it if you're not going to walk across it yourself? Because at some point you need to cross that finish line.
You will.
And that proverbial finish line is like, will you walk across it yourself? Or is it going to be your future self that pulls you across it? Or is it going to be God that pulls you across it? Is it going to be your parents that pull you across it? Is it going to be your friends that pull you across? Like, but at some point, that line is in front of you. And it's worth crossing, because that's when you break the trap and life begins, and everything past that line is unknown, but it's not whatever hell that you're trapped in.
Yeah. You know, I would add to what you're saying in that, in my opinion, everyone crosses that finish line. But are you going to get dragged through it and get through there bleeding and in pain? Or are you going to get up and walk? Because everyone deserves an amazing life. Everyone deserves peace and love and abundance in the ways that they want it. Everyone does. And just know that if you're in a place of pain, then you're being redirected into a better path. And if you're in a place that's great, thank God. Enjoy every moment of it. Just enjoy. Don't want more. Don't feel guilty. Just enjoy it because you deserve it. You deserve it because you have it.
I think that's a really big one. I think so often we don't allow ourselves to believe that we deserve something positive that is happening to us, like in our lives. Like, we don't deserve it. Like, I am not worthy of this. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, or when, like, we sit there and we worry, like, when is this going to be taken away from me? Like, the way my life has gone, like, these things don't happen to me. I don't deserve them. And it's like, and it's interesting to just come up with a state of mind or the frame of mind where it's like, this is happening. This is amazing. I deserve this.
You know what's so funny? It's that when you say it, I'm like, that's stupid. But I think like that to myself constantly. And I just realized that hearing it from the outside, you realize how stupid those thoughts are. Not you, those thoughts are. Because when you said that, I'm like, why would you not be deserving of whatever you want? You're an amazing person. I can very clearly see it. But when it comes to yourself and it's in your mind and it gets stuck in this loop, you're like, I don't deserve it. And then like you can't fight it. And I think what's a really good practice that I'm going to commit myself to do is when I have stupid thoughts or unproductive thoughts, I'm going to journal them or put them on my notes app. And I'm going to look at them later and be like, that has no place in my brain, and just let it die outside of me. If it comes back, I'll keep killing it. Because you just realize like that's such a dumb thing. It's just a dumb thing. You don't need to earn worthiness or love or deserving. You have to work towards things for sure. For sure, right? I want to be wealthy. Okay, go work towards it. You have to. But being worthy of it is different. I think we're worthy of everything.
It's true. And it's really, really interesting. Like, I look at my own life path, and like there's so many times where I just felt a lack of worth. Like, I just did not deserve something that was happening that was positive. And it's anytime I would get it, it's like, can I keep it? Can I hold it? Like, when is this going to slip away? Like, this is too good to be true. And it's like, now I look at it and it's like, something amazing is happening. Thank you. I'm going to hold it. And when it's meant to go, I'll release it and allow the next thing to come in.
That's a beautiful thing. I believe a beautiful thing is just experiencing things and not possessing or owning it. Because we don't possess or own anything, including our own bodies. We eventually all leave this earth. So everything is just meant to be experienced. So I think what's really important is to be present and experience everything fully, because this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And we've had a hell of a podcast episode. And this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And I think we just get to leave people with such incredible wisdom. And I really enjoyed the conversation that we were having here today. And I'm excited for people to listen to it and hear the different perspectives that you've had to share, which were incredible. Paz, where can our audience connect with you further if they want to hear more from you?
I'm not really on social media too much or anything. I try to stay off of it because if I'm not producing, I don't want to consume. So right now, I have Instagram. I don't really use it, but right now, nowhere. In the future, maybe we'll see where that marathon takes me. But I really appreciate this. This is awesome. You have really good perspective. Yeah,
amazing. Well, Paz Josefzon, ladies and gentlemen, really amazing conversation. If you guys enjoyed what you heard today or anything resonated with you, we'd love for you to share this episode with your friends so they can hear some of Paz's perspectives. Give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know what you think of the episode. I'm your host, Ben Beeri. You can connect with me on Instagram at Ben Beeri, BenBeeri. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Authentic Journey.